Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation we're going to see how we go about completing the CTF walkthrough for INFOSEC Prep OSCP. This CTF was created by Falcon Spy with the support of the staff at INFOSEC. This CTF is rated as easy, but there are plenty of walkthroughs available on the internet and on YouTube that make it much harder than it needs to be. This walkthrough was built using a number of online resources and walkthroughs, including the walkthrough from the YouTube channel of IT Security Labs and the website of Passing OSCP by Alex Dibb. The lab requirements for this capture the flag exercise are 1 install of either VirtualBox or VMware, though VirtualBox is preferred, 1 virtual install of Kali Linux, and 1 virtual install of the INFOSEC Prep OSCP OVA file, which can be downloaded from the Volun Hub site. All links are provided for you inside of the lab file. To begin the lab, ensure both your Kali attack machine and the OSCP target are up and running inside of either VirtualBox or VMware. Next, ensure both their network settings are configured for NAT network. Let's see how that's done. So I'm going to go up here to device, I'm going to go to network, and I'm going to do this on both my Kali machine and the target machine, and I'm going to ensure that the network settings are NAT network. Once you have both virtual machines up and running, open up your target machine and you will have a terminal. At the top left of the terminal you will see an IP address that's been assigned to you for this particular machine. Take note of that IP address, you will need it for the lab. The next thing you'll want to do is open up a terminal on your Kali machine and do an ifconfig. Ensure that you have an IP address for your Ethernet 0 adapter or whatever Ethernet adapter is currently being used to connect you to this virtual network between you and your target. Let's go ahead and type in clear. Now I'm going to go ahead and ensure that I have connectivity between my Kali machine and my target by doing a ping. And I have good replies. Now to break out of this sequence, I'm just going to do a Control-C and I can close out my terminal. On your Kali machine, right-click on the desktop and from the context menu, scroll on down to where it says Create Folder. You're going to create a new folder and you can call it OSCP. Once you have that folder created, go ahead and right-click on it and select from the context menu, Open Terminal here. And so as with every capture the flag exercise or pen test, the first thing we have to do is enumerate. So we have a target and we're going to enumerate it using Nmap, and we're going to be looking for any services or ports that are currently running on that target that we might be able to exploit. So at the command prompt I've typed in nmap space dash small letter S capital C space dash small letter S capital V followed by the IP address of my target. Now this is my IP address for my target. Your IP address will differ. Go ahead and hit enter. Nmap quickly returns our scan results and we see that our target is running SSH on port 22 and an Apache web server running on port 80. We also have all the version information for the software running on port 22 and port 80 that we need in case we need to download exploits or run scripts. Now what's interesting about the web server is it shows us that there is a robots.txt file and it has one disallowed entry. That might be of interest to us. And it also has a secret.txt file that is part of that robots.txt. So we're going to take a look at that in just a moment. But we're first going to do some more enumeration. So let's go ahead and minimize this terminal, and if we need to we can come back to the information later, and we're going to open up a new terminal and we're going to continue on with our enumeration running GoBuster. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this long command from my lab file. Ghostbuster is a tool for brute forcing URIs, files and directories, and DNS subdomains. So what I've done here is I've typed in Ghostbuster space. I wanted to look for directories dir -u on the server with the address of 10.0.2.17, and we're going to use a word list. That's what the -W stands for, and that word list is located up inside of the usr/share/word list directory inside of the dirtbuster directory, and it is called directory-list-2.3-medium.txt, and we're looking for file types, which is what the -X represents. I want to look for file types for PHP, HTML, and text. Go ahead and run the command. As our GoBuster results continue to flow in, we learned that we have a WordPress site running on our target. We have the WordPress content, the login, license, the readme.html file, and of course the robots.txt, along with the secret.txt that we're going to take a look at in just a moment. But you see that we have a lot of good targets that we can go after here, and we can run WP scan, we can run some other tools if we so desire. But we're still in the enumeration phase, and so what I'm interested in is what's inside of that robots.txt file, and I'm especially interested in what's going on with that secret.txt. So what we're going to do next is open up a web browser, and we're going to go after that low-hanging fruit that we just discussed. So let's go ahead and minimize this terminal. We can come back to it later if we so desire. And let's go ahead and open up a web browser. So I've opened up my browser up inside of my Kali desktop, and I've just typed in the IP address of the target, which was 10.0.2.17. This is my IP address. Your IP address will probably differ. And we can start by going over some of the information that's available to us up inside of this website. So let's begin by looking over the home page here. And one thing that is of interest is that we find that there's only one user account that is available for this box, and that user is OSCP. We'll need to know that for later on. We can also take a look at the source information. So I can right click on this web page and I can view the page source. Now a lot of times up inside of the page source, you'll find that there's a lot of comments, and there may be little pieces of information regarding passwords, user accounts, and other information. Now we're not seeing none of that on here, but as you go through these other CTFs and you do your prep for the OSCP, this is something that you want to be aware of. Always look at the page source information to ensure that you're not missing anything that's going to set you back. You want to make sure you scroll on down here and you take a look at all the different links that you have available. There's Hello World. You've got a number of different links in here that you can take a look at. Now all of these are avenues for possible exploits, but we're going to do it a little different. We're not going to use tools for this CTF. Primarily what we're going to do is use just the command line, and we're going to capture that flag. Let's see how we do that. Now to look at the robots.txt file, all I have to do is type in or append a /robots.txt to the front of the IP address of the target. And you'll see here that we have something called secret. Let me go ahead and adjust my view here, my zoom. Okay, that's better. Now you can see that we have a secret.txt. Now, the robots.txt is designed to tell any of the spiders out there that are crawling the web looking for information to catalog to ignore the secret.txt in this case. We're telling the web crawlers, do not catalog this particular resource that is on this web server. Disallow it. And a lot of times you'll also find other information up here, such as versioning, and you might even find a username or even a password that might be available to you that's been posted by the admin. Now to look inside of that secrets.txt, all I did was remove the robots.txt from the front of the IP address, and I appended a /secret.txt to the IP address. I hit enter, and now I'm showing the contents. And what we have here is a base 64 code, and it's probably going to be for an SSH key. Now the next thing we need to do is take everything that's inside of this secret.txt and we're going to copy it. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have everything copied from the top to the bottom. I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy. I'm then going to open up a new browser tab, and in the search bar I'm going to type in base 64 decoder. From those results I'm going to take the first one and I'm going to launch, and I'm going to go to the website that's going to allow me to decode this base 64 hash. In this first window I'm going to go ahead and do a Control V and paste everything that I just copied off of that secret.txt file. I'm going to scroll on down and I'm going to press the decode button. And this is your decoded base 64 code that we copied over from that secret.txt file. Now in this case we have what's called a private key for our open SSH. So we're going to go ahead and copy this. And the way I'm going to do this is just place my mouse inside of the second window. I'm going to do a Control A, I'll do a Control C. I'm now going to minimize my browser. Once I'm back to my desktop, I'm just going to find my working directory, which is OSCP, right click on it. From the context menu I'm going to select Open a Terminal here. Now I'm going to create a text file using an editor. Now my editor of choice is Nano. You're free to use any text editor you want. I'm going to type in nano space key.rsa. I'm going to hit enter. Now I have a blank file. I'm going to right click inside of this blank file and I'm going to say paste clipboard. Now I'm going to paste the contents of that open SSH private key into this text file, and I'm going to save it by doing a Control X. I do a Control X and then it asks me, do you want to save the modified buffer? I'll type in Y for yes. Now I'm going to hit enter and we're back to the prompt. Now to see if I actually have that file inside of my OSCP directory, I'll just type in ls. I see that I do have a file called key.rsa. If I want to see if I actually save the contents to this text file called key.rsa, I can just do a cat space, type in the name of the file that I want to print out to the terminal, which in this case is key.rsa. Hit enter, and I see that I have the private key. You can go ahead and close out this terminal. Now the next thing we have to do for that file that we just created for the open SSH private key is we have to set the permissions so that we have access to it when we get ready to launch that SSH shell over onto the target. Now to do this, I'm going to do the change mod command, and I'm going to use the number 600, and I'm going to assign this permission to the key.rsa file. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And it comes back to the command prompt letting me know that my command completed successfully. So earlier on we discovered that there was only one user on that web server, and that was OSCP. Up inside of the secret text we discovered the base 64 code for the open SSH private key. Now that we have both of those pieces of information, we can attempt to establish an SSH session onto the target machine. At my prompt, I've typed in SSH space the name of the user, which is OSCP, at the IP address of my target, which is 10.0.2.17 space dash I, which means use the following file for the key, which is key.rsa. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and it comes back and it logs me on as OSCP to the target machine using SSH. I want to see if I can find the permissions and see that if I'm logged on as sudo or root. And to do that, I'm just going to type in sudo space dash I, hit enter, and now it wants the sudo password, which we don't have. So the next thing that we need to do is find out exactly what permissions I currently have available to me as the logged on user that I currently am. Now to do this, I'm just going to type in the following command here. Meaning of all this, that is to say the command syntax is available to you up inside the lab file. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And as you can see, it's pulling up all of the files and directories that I currently have access to. It's not telling me the permissions, but that's okay. I think we've got an option here that's going to get us into the root, which is where we need to be, and that's going to be using the bash. But let's see how we do that. Now, bash is most likely going to have root access to the system, and that means that who's ever using it is going to have root access. So we're going to go ahead and type in the following. We're going to type in a /usr/bin/bash, and we want to assign these permissions to the current user. So I'm going to type in a -p. Now if I run the ID command, we can see exactly what permissions that the user who's using the bash permissions actually has. So I'm going to type in ID, hit enter, and you can see that I'm now a member of the group 0, which has root access, and that's what we need. So the next thing we want to do is change over to the root of the machine. To do this, I'm just going to type in CD/, I'm going to hit enter, and now I'm at the root of the machine. Now the next thing we want to do is an ls to see what's actually available to us here. So I'm going to type in ls, and you'll see that we have a root folder. So we want to get into the root folder because that's where our flag is. So I'm going to type in CD/root, and I should be inside of that root folder now. And to check, I can just do another ls, hit enter, and you'll see that we have a number of items inside of here, and one of those is the flag.txt. Now to get the key to complete this capture the flag exercise for this voucher, I'm going to go ahead and cat that text file out by typing in cat space flag.txt, and you'll see that we have the key presented to us. And so you can see that this capture the exercise was very easy, but it was made easy by the individuals that actually worked on producing the walkthrough that I used for this video presentation. Now, that doesn't mean that it's always easy, because there are a lot of other walkthroughs that are 40 minutes long, 50 minutes long, and even over an hour long as they go through the process of trying to capture that flag. But we captured the flag without using any of the utilities at our disposal. We didn't have to run WP scan or any other tools to try to capture a password or figure out how to get access to a shell on the target. We did it using just observation and enumeration of the target and looking for clues. And so that's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about completing the walkthrough for the INFOSEC OSCP capture the flag exercise. You got questions, you got concerns, don't hesitate to reach out and contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.